everyone, welcome into A3 YouTube. Guys, how the heck is it hanging? Thanks for joining us. We've got Sandra Herrera. And no, your screens are not mistaking you. Aaron West is back with us. I'm Lisa Carlin. So if you're with us live on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to our page, and then you can join the convo in the chat. Give Aaron a big hey, hi, hello, what's up? Welcome back to A3. Aaron, how are you?
I'm fantastic. It is amazing to be back. I missed you guys. I wish I could give you a hug in real life, but we'll give you a virtual hug. Good to be back. Really good to be back.
Sandra, what should the people talk about in the chat today? Do you have a question for them? Are you going to pose something to them? Come on, you're our deep thinker here, our mind.
Oh no, I don't know if it's gonna be deep, but I definitely, anytime the sun keeps shining out over in Chicago, I'm like, yes, we're just closer and closer to summer. So I want to know what people's plans are for the summer. Like, what is your go-to thing in the summer? It could be as simple as eating popsicles on your front porch.
Yum.
Like, I want to know what you're gonna get up to because I can't wait to get up to some summer shenanigans. I'm not gonna lie.
Are you hitting the concrete beach, Sandra?
The concrete beach, the sandy beach, across the beautiful lake that people think is an ocean because it's so vast. Yes, the greatest.
Oh my gosh.
I want to say, I need to say this in front of you. I think I love Chicago in general, but winter Chicago I can't really handle. But spring, summer Chicago is a top three city in the U.S. and it might not be 2 or 3. We're gonna keep it.
It is a top city and elite city, and we've got an elite show planned for you guys today. We're talking all things women's soccer, and it's starting right now. Don't go anywhere. Welcome into Attacking Third. It is Tuesday, and boy, oh boy, do we have a packed show for you today. We are wrapping up TST, the soccer tournament. It concluded last night. We'll tell you what happened. We're also talking NWSL because they dropped some new rules, especially for the expansion teams, Boston and Denver coming in next year. And you guys are hitting us with a lot of questions, and we're answering them with an A3 mailbag, and I could never do it alone. Alongside Sandra Herrera and the one, the only, he's back, Aaron West. I'm Lisa Carlin. Hey, Wes, welcome back, man. You look better than ever. How are you?
I'm fantastic. It's great to be back. Had to rock the Pride headband to celebrate the month. But yeah, it's always good to be here with you guys. We're gonna have fun today. We're all gonna have fun today.
We're all having fun today. It's not a threat. It's a promise.
You're the only man I ever want to hear from about women's soccer.
I appreciate you. I really appreciate you.
It's the best. Guys, today I'm rocking. I have to give some love to my KC Current kit. It is a Labanta. It is authentic because Lola Bonta are earning her first call-up, her first cap with the U.S. senior national team. She was on the show yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, go back. Her and Darian had a fantastic conversation, couple conversations. So go listen to that. But that's I'm rocking this for Lo today for our girl, our A3 friend.
Love that.
All right, guys, we have so much to get into today, so let's start with it. And actually, we're starting with some breaking news out of England because Champions League winners Arsenal have announced that for the first time ever, all of their women's WSL home matches will be played at the Emirates next season. It is a huge announcement. So they're also going to have Emirates Stadium season tickets for the women's team. So thousands of more supporters have the opportunity to go to this iconic home and see their Champions League winners do this. Aaron, you immediately went to your crest. We haven't even heard from you about Champions League win and everything that Arsenal has done this year. But what does this do? How does this elevate Arsenal women's team playing every single game at the Emirates?
I love it. It's more than deserved. These fans, every single time they play in the Emirates, they show up, they pack it out. The Arsenal average attendance is like 2 or 3 times higher than the next one. I think if you put the next 2 or 3 together, it's Arsenal's average attendance. This team is so well supported, so well loved, and all of it, again, is so deserved. I think this is a fantastic move from the club, and I hope that they sell out every single match.
It is pretty cool now because they're also doing like a 6-game bundle, like so fans can buy a 6-game pack and go to the Emirates. But it's just an opportunity for players to play in front of more fans as well. Beach Dog Scout, who's with us live on YouTube, is like, I want to go to a game at the Emirates. Now you can. Yeah. Every single time they play at home, which just elevates it. Sandra, does this now maybe change the bar for other WSL teams? Chelsea, I'm looking at you.
I hope so. I mean, you should call it out like you see it. You should say it with your whole chest. If it's true and in front of you, you should just say it. But I hope so. I mean, I didn't anticipate there being like a theme on today's show, but there's definitely like throughout our segment today, like there's all these kind of different points where we look at these things as literal measuring sticks for like how the women's game is growing. And this is one of those ways. Like maybe if you are someone who's just like so deeply embedded in like only men's soccer, you're just like, whatever, like the Emirates is like a thing. But when you compare it to the landscape of women's soccer and where some of these iconic clubs play, it's a really, really big deal. And it couldn't come at a better time. I mean, coming off of this Champions League win, Arsenal have always been contenders in Women's Super League. And they're smart about it. Like they're already rolling out ways to where it could just be very specific ticket sales for these games for folks who are interested. And it's just another one of those ways that you see the game evolving and growing, but also making sure that other folks are on notice. What can other clubs do to make sure that they are keeping up with the race, so that they are keeping up with the ways in which their clubs need to get eyeballs on them?
It's always competitive from club to club, not just on the pitch, but I also think in where the money's going, who's investing in it, the advancement that their clubs are doing specifically like this of growing to the Emirates as a bigger stadium. I think that it's easy to compare Arsenal to Chelsea every year because they are two top of the table teams and two of the bigger clubs in the women's game in England. But I'm also looking at Manchester United because this is a club that essentially took away funds and we're defunding their women's program last year. And now you see Arsenal dumping more money into their women's program and saying, we are going to elevate you, put you on a bigger stage playing at the Emirates. Clare Wheatley, who's the director of women's football at Arsenal, she had a great quote that said, quote, our players and staff know what it means to walk out in front of a packed Emirates stadium. It brings a sense of pride and belonging to all of us. It fuels a relentless drive to win and is a crucial part of how we create the best conditions for our women's team to succeed. And I love this because she made it about the success of the team and the players and how they do better. And Arsenal are coming off of a historic Champions League win, just the second time they've done it and the only English club to win the Women's Champions League. But guys, this also to me says we're going to win the Champions League next year and we're going to win the league next year, in addition to any cups that they're part of or anything that way. But to me, this says we are only going to get better from here when Arsenal's already at the top of their game. Terrifying if you're any other team in the WSL right now.
I mean, as far as numbers go, yeah. I mean, maybe on the other side of that, I mean, you see that kind of that trickle effect across the women's soccer landscape. I mean, not only will it probably come up in women's Super League teams where just like, how are we going to get these more eyeballs on our club? But, you know, we see these kind of very unique one-offs now at this point in NWSL where there's these very, very special events. We saw that Wrigley game between Chicago and Bay last year. We're going to get another baseball-esque type of match with Bay FC in Spirit. You know, will this pave the way to maybe some other facilities? It's all about breaking records for some clubs and wanting to reach those thresholds. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is just another trend that we continue to see moving forward.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, I hope this one goes one of two ways. Either other clubs are shamed into moving forward and bringing their women's teams forward into the light and giving them the spotlight they deserve, or they're inspired and they bring their teams forward into the light. Either way, I hope we see some change and more like this Arsenal side. Chelsea, I'm looking at you. Stamford Bridge is a perfect place for your women's team to play. I think this is a great move, and I really, really hope teams around the league are inspired.
Can we expect to see you, Aaron, at the Emirates?
Oh, there is no question. I'm looking at what game I want to go to next year. I would love to. I really want to bring my family, but we'll see if we can figure that
one out. Oh, I like that. Well, every single one of them, guys. Every single WSL home game is going to be played at the Emirates. So take your pick at matches that you want to see, where the Gunners go head to head against other league competitors, and who they can take down. So congrats to Arsenal. This is a huge step forward. It does continue to elevate the game and push it forward. All right, guys, we've got a whole show ahead of us. We're talking TST next. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to A3. Last night, TST wrapped up. So the soccer tournament, yes, that's what it's called. It wrapped up with the U.S. women defeating Bumpy Pitch FC 3-0. So that is attacking thirds Jen Beattie taking down McCall Zerboni, another A3 player on Bumpy Pitch. It was 3-0. So now the U.S. women, they win $1 million. It's $1 million. It's winner takes all. So that is back-to-back years for U.S. women to defend their crown and win TST. There were a lot of superstars on this U.S. women's roster. Heather O'Reilly, Carly Lloyd, a number of former UNC players that absolutely balled out. Former UNC and NWSL goalkeeper Lindsay Harris, she kept a clean sheet in this final. She also won TST's Golden Glove. UNC alum Tessa Delarose, or not alum, excuse me, she's still there. She scored the second goal in this final. She also won TST last year. Then she won a national championship with UNC, and now she just won another TST. There's also UNC's players, Evelyn Shores. She scored the third goal that was assisted by Heyo. Aaron, you got to be at this tournament as a North Carolina guy, a UNC guy. I mean, it's pretty cool to see these players absolutely crushing it. But from boots on the ground, what did you experience at TST?
This is the third year of TST, and I cannot overstate how much I love this tournament. I think this is the future of American soccer to me. The way that it's so authentic. It's such a street feel. The crowds, even though it was rain, I was there for 3 days. It was raining 95% of the time I was there, but the crowds they showed up. They were raucous. They loved it. I think they broke an attendance record this year once more. The quality of the football was incredible.
People in attendance.
Yeah.
42,000 for last year. Huge.
It was packed. The concourse, I went in the morning, I came back in the evening. Every single time I went, the concourse was packed. They do a fantastic job with amenities, with the food, everything. It's just like a big party atmosphere. It's like a block party with street soccer. It's everything you'd really want if you're a soccer fan. And the quality, like I was getting at, the quality of the football, the soccer was so good. And this U.S. women's team, it was so stacked. It makes no sense. I don't know how many World Cups, if you put each player with a World Cup, I don't know how many they had, but it's too many. Big shout out to Casey Lloyd. She is one of my favorite women's players of all time. I wish she had had a longer professional career. She chose to go the opposite direction, the other way, but she's a fantastic coach. Her kids are already ballers, by the way. But Casey Lloyd is one of those. Casey Noguera, Casey Lloyd. When she was at UNC, she and Tobin Heath were my favorite pairing to watch of all time. And she is such a baller. She was cooking all tournament. I do want to shout out Bumpy Pitch. The mix of players that they had. I really like the mix of players that a lot of these teams had, where it's young national team players, established retired professionals, older professionals. Yuki Nagasato was on this Bumpy Pitch team. Yeah. We already mentioned McCall Zerboni, but I want to shout out specifically Scotland Antonucci. I think she's a U17 national team player, but She was so clean on the ball, so technical, unafraid of anything. The quality across the tournament was brilliant. I want to shout out Austin Rise as well. But this U.S. women's team really deserved to win. But the quality everywhere was fantastic.
So many players, Yuki Nagasato being one of them, said that TST was more fun, more stressful to some extent than a World Cup competing in that, because of the way that TST is set up. It's 7v7. It's 2 20-minute halves. And then you always play this extra time where you just have
There's always stakes.
There's always stakes. And it doesn't matter how much you're losing by, you can still win in that TST time at the end, which is so fun. It makes it like, you're exactly right. Like you're playing pickup or you're playing in the schoolyard, and it's finally the bell rings and you're like, all right, we've got 5 minutes left before we have to go back in for class. Next player to score, or like next player to score with their head. Just some crazy rules that go into it, and you could see it. It's also very interesting to watch during TST that at the start of the tournament, which players, not necessarily teams, but which individuals are still acting like it's 11v11, or they have the tactics or the mindset of 11v11. And it's like, you can't hold on to the ball that quick. You got to get it out faster from you. You have to move the ball because 7v7 is
stretch the field completely.
And it's a big field.
Yeah, I think that's where the fun comes in across the rosters. Like we were mentioning, like Yuki Nagasato in this, and like this is a player that I think is almost as used to playing in that kind of tempo, like just quick touches and getting the ball out, versus like maybe players who weren't used to playing that way throughout their careers. And just like looking at the U.S. women and just having the balance across that roster as well, from like all of these like incredible veterans who have won literally the highest trophies, biggest trophies of all time on the biggest stages, combined with like these up and comers who are ultimately scoring the game winners. I in no way would look at like these tournaments as developmental like paths, but like I also love that there's a little bit of a concept here of like developmental tournament. Like why not like kind of weave it into all of that. And I think if you are some of these younger players, like in Evelyn Shores, like these are just things that are continuing to like keep your player profile just like in the highlight reels, just like we're talking about it on A3 today. Like these are just like this is just another thing for it to kind of be utilized in that sense. So, and it's just like going to keep growing. Like honestly, like TSC has grown. The numbers are there in terms of the viewership, in terms of teams that are like entering to be part of the fold. I mean, you look at just kind of the tail end of what was it, World Sevens, like that's also just like another thing that we just like came off of to see, where it's just like between club versus club. So like you see this concept, this just like it's a very fun thing, and there's something that people always want in on. They always want in on the fun, and so it's not too surprising for me to see that TST. Then we see something like World Sevens get like born, like be birthed out of like a similar concept, and then add their own kind of twists to it, add their own kind of prize pool. And I would imagine that moving forward, like this is just going to continue to get bigger. That concept too of just sort of like being a viewer or being in in the audience and kind of feeling part of that action, like having that sort of access feel to it as well, I think has also been really, really exciting. So I don't know, maybe another dynasty in the works for U.S. women. Like we'll see.
I'm really glad you mentioned the development aspect, Sandra, because it's such a cool thing and such a unique thing to me, where you've got an incoming freshman to UNC playing with Hale, playing with Carly Lloyd. That's incredible experience. You're playing in front of big crowds. You're playing for real stakes against people who some of them might need this money for real. Yeah. And those are the stakes I think that really change the professional game. It's like you're not playing against someone who's out there for fun necessarily. You're playing against someone who has to feed their family. And that changes things. And it's such an important aspect for young players to see and to experience. And I love it all around.
Even just having that $1 million prize tag on this tournament makes the stakes so much higher, because then every single team is like, it's not just for pride. It's not just like, oh, let's go have fun, which a lot of times that's where you see something set up like this, a 7v7 small sided, which means you're also not going to get players like Heyo and Carly Lloyd, who are coming out of retirement, at Ali Krieger, to play in something like this, because it's not worth it. Now, when they're absolutely crushing and winning, it might be a little worth it. Plus, you get $1 million on the line. But we're talking about the development, these young players, some of these veterans that are superstars, World Cup champions, Olympians. That is the ideal roster makeup, right? Because you need players that are obviously very good on the ball, which is someone like Heyo, Carly Lloyd, Ali Krieger, who are just going to be so composed. But then you also need young 20-year-olds that are just going to run around and give you a little bit of energy. And it's, to me, the roster makeup of this tournament is one of the hardest things to do, because you have to get players from all different walks and different styles that can play multiple positions, because you're not just a forward, not just a defender. You have to be able to do it all. I think your goalkeeper is also really important, because you have to be another player that is possessing out of the back and helping your team keep it. So it's not just any keeper or any players that can compete and let alone win TST.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the keepers, because we have to shout out Lindsay Harris. You mentioned her earlier, UNC alum. She is the TST GOAT. The first year when the U.S. women played in the men's division, she made so many ridiculous saves. She made such a name for herself. Last year, she was fantastic. This year, fantastic again. And you talked about players that can play multiple positions. Gotham alum Mana Shim. She jumps in goal for when they go to 4v4. She tosses the gloves on. She is an incredible player all around. They had a brilliant roster makeup. Like you said, the experienced players, the players who are super, super comfortable on the ball in tight spaces, the players that can run, all different mixes. And just the way that this tournament is set up is so much fun to watch. And the U.S. women, I think, have nailed the formula for winning this tournament, the type of roster makeup.
That's what I'm saying. A little bit of a dynasty in the making. Like, they're very clearly the team to beat when it comes to this tournament.
All right, guys, could we potentially see this take another step forward? Aaron, like, what would advance TST? What's another wrinkle that we could throw into this tournament, or where we could see it go in years moving forward? Because we're only in year 3 of it, and it's already grown so much. What's next?
I could see a couple different ways that this progresses, like a TST league, where there's a full 77 league that plays a full season. Then you have playoffs, and you have the finals, and then maybe those teams qualify for TST proper. Bless you, Sandra, by the way. TST proper in the tournament. Maybe that's how you get qualified for the actual $1 million tournament. You play a full season, and the top 8 teams, the top whatever teams in that regular season, then go to TST for the $1 million. You could have several tournaments. You could have regional tournaments. I think that this formula, we've seen kind of this formula get really popular recently, like Kings League over in Europe, Gerard Piquet's thing. We've seen the World Sevens. This number 7 aside is so much fun. Yes. It's perfect. And I think the applications, the extrapolations for it are honestly endless.
Yeah, there's some crazy rules.
I want chaos. It's already limited. It's already only 7 players. It's already only 20 minutes. What if no yellows, just like straight sin bins, like 1 minute sin bins? Like, just
I don't hate the idea of sin bins. When you first said no yellows, I was like, everybody's getting 2-footed in, but then you said the sin bin part.
Just sin bins.
I like that, Sandra.
I do. Yeah. You already take players off, so it throws a little wrinkle.
Cautionable offense. Get out of here for at least a minute, like 90 seconds.
I love that.
Like, one of my favorite things about TST is the chaos of it and the rules, right?
More
like
of
that.
it.
Yes, more chaos, more rules. Well, congratulations to the U.S. women for winning back-to-back TST championships, taking home $1 million. Congratulations. All right, guys, don't go anywhere. We are chatting some NWSL rules that dropped recently from the league. You're going to want to hear all about it. Stick with us. Welcome back to Attacking Third. The NWSL has announced some expansion team news for Boston Legacy and Denver FC set to join the NWSL in 2026. So some roster building assets, some intra-league loans. So after no draft, no college draft, no expansion draft, that has already reshaped the NWSL with everyone being a free agent. But now the league is talking about some roster building assets for how these expansion teams are actually going to build out a player roster, because mainly before it was an expansion draft. So some breakdown of this for you guys. Both Denver and Boston, who are set to join in 2026, they will receive $1,065,000 in allocation money, 50% of those funds provided by the league. So from July 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2027 is when Denver and Boston have to use all the funds allocation money. If this, now there's a little wrinkle, if the salary cap increases during this time, there will be available allocation money will be increased for these teams as well. So initially, Sandra, we're getting money directly going to these teams, these expansion teams, that didn't really happen before. So how is this potentially going to shape Denver and Boston's rosters differently than we saw Bay in Utah, San Diego and Angel City, Louisville when they came into the NWSL?
Hopefully it means with more money they can get more creative and just outright have the ability to lure players into their project. I mean, it's about incentives. I think at this point in the sporting business side of things, you have to look at maybe past expansion teams that have found their way into NWSL and what were maybe some of those lucrative things that they were going to get coming into the mix. It was about figuring out, especially in the phase of double team expansions, how we got with LA and San Diego, and then we got with Bay in Utah, and now we're going to get with Denver and Boston. In those prior double expansion years, you're looking at things like figuring out, well, who gets to pick first in the NWSL draft, who maybe gets to pick first in an expansion draft, who gets, those were those lucrative things, and those don't exist anymore. There is no more draft in NWSL. So for future teams that find themselves coming into NWSL, what are those things going to look like? What are those assets that you're going to have to actually build out a roster, and what are the creative ways in which you can do that? And I think anyone can argue that more money is probably the best way to do that. And they're going to have that. So not only is the extra allocation money going to help, it's the timeline of that as well. Allocation money as a whole, I believe, for existing NWSL clubs has to be spent and done and dusted by 2026. And so for Denver and Boston, they're not only going to get those extra funds, they're going to get that extra time to utilize it as well. So I think that's going to be pretty huge. That's probably the biggest indicator of the ways that are going to benefit them to kind of build out their rosters.
And this is essentially where that $50+ million of buy-in money is somewhere going, right? Because when Boston bought in, I think, for $53 million into the NWSL, and there was no indication of where any of that money went. Now, I think we're starting to see where some of it is being kicked out, with $1,065,000 in allocation money. But that's just in allocation money. The league also announced that they're giving Denver and Boston, the two expansion teams, $605,000 threshold for 2026 in transfer money. So an additional $968,000 from January 1, 2025, which has already passed, until the second transfer window in 2026, which is August about. So that is just $605,000 threshold for that, plus $968,000 extra. Now, if they go over that, it's a 25% charge towards the team's salary cap, which is quite steep. I always think I get hit on the 3% credit card charge, and now we're talking a 25% charge in this. Aaron, when you look at some of the top transfers in NWSL, of course, there's Naomi Girma, $1 million transfer out of San Diego into Chelsea, but Rachel Kundanaji, $788,000. Barbara Branda, $740,000. Is this $605,000 and then the $968,000 enough to build a great team?
I don't think it's enough to build a great team. I think it's enough to build a team that can sit middle of the pack, maybe make playoffs to start. I think it's enough to not embarrass your team when you first start, but I don't think it's enough to build a great team. I really don't. We're starting to see, and rightfully, player values are starting to raise. We've seen a $1 million transfer, and I think we will see it again in the next few months. I think that player values are rightfully starting to rise, and that is not quite enough to build a team that like competes with the top of the table. But it does get you in the door and say, hey, you're not going to embarrass yourself in the first season if you allocate this money properly.
Every single team that comes into the league, though, is like, we want to win, right? Obviously, as they have to say that, right? What fan base or players want their ownership to say? We just want to be middle of the pack.
We're just happy to be here.
You want to compete. I think this is a step in the right direction. I am very interested to see how Boston and Denver actually start creating the makeup of their roster, because they could already start as of right now, right? From January 1, 2025 to the start of 2020, or to like August of 2025. There is no salary cap for these two teams. So any player signed during this period has to have a net zero salary cap, right? They could go on loan to another team. They could be on SEI. There could be a number of different things there, but we could technically see these teams already signing players. We haven't yet. Don't worry, guys. We will cover it right here on A3 when Boston and Denver sign players. So that was one wrinkle of the news that NWSL dropped. They also announced intra-league loans effective immediately. So NWSL players can now be loaned out to any other teams within the league. There must be consent, though, from both teams, of course, and from the player that is going on loan. There is a max of 3 players from any single team in and 3 players out to any single team. You can have no more than 12 players combined in and out on loan at any given time. Sandra, this is a whole other wrinkle in the NWSL. It is brand new. How could we see this potentially play out?
I hope we get to see it ASAP. I mean, it's going to depend like when everything kind of gets done and dusted. And I'm sure front office executives are also like trying to filter through all this with that fine tooth comb and just see where exactly their needs lie and how they can match with this new kind of incentive. So I think this is one for all clubs. It's not just for Denver and Boston. I'm sure the expansion teams are going to think of ways to utilize that as well to kind of build out their roster throughout the course of a long season. But I think for any teams in NWSL who maybe find themselves middle of the pack or maybe even lower to middle of the pack will want to try to utilize this mechanism if possible. I mean, I feel like every week we're on here talking about how first-year players, rookies specifically, are having an impact for their teams. And for a lot of these rosters across NWSL, it's one. It almost feels like one per club. That doesn't mean that that's just one rookie on those rosters. Maybe there's others across those rosters who aren't getting those minutes, and maybe they could get those minutes in another club. But all of the opportunities all have to align, right? This isn't just like Intra-League loans for all, but that doesn't mean that they're always going to come to fruition. There's a lot of things that have to align. It has to work out for the player. It has to work out for club. It has to, fit in with the money and the budgeting. So like, I'm very curious who will be the teams that will make this kind of first move going forward.
So in the past in NWSL, we've seen players like Vanessa Gilles, the Canadian international defender from Angel City, go on loan to Lyon. We've seen Alex Morgan go on loan. We've seen Sofia Huerta, the defender from Seattle. She was on loan this past year, but those were all out of NWSL. This new rule is basically saying that we could see NWSL teams put players on loan for the remainder of a year or a season for multiple years, right? You could have a multi-year loan technically based on how things go, which opens up the door for players to transfer all over within the NWSL. I think this benefits the players a lot because they have the opportunity now to go to a different team that's maybe playing a system and a style that they're going for. I mean, this is just off the top of my head, but North Carolina Courage, they started this year and they built their roster based on playing a 4-3-3 or even a 4-4-2 at times, with having 7 and 11 players up top, which are high, wide wing forwards. they don't really play that way anymore. So we're seeing playing time down for someone like a Tyler Lucy, who went to that club to play in that specific role. Now she's still getting time. She's still playing there. This is just an example, but she could now transfer to another team within the NWSL that needs an 11, that needs a high, wide winger to truly benefit her. Aaron, this is so interesting that we now get to see it, but this also could potentially help these expansion clubs in Boston and Denver, that they could now put players on loan to go to Boston or Denver.
Yeah, it's huge in a lot of different ways. I think in terms of, spoke to it, but player development. If you're a young player or a player that's not getting minutes, your team changes system. You don't just have to sit on the bench for the rest of the year. And for the club that owns you, you don't have to necessarily worry about selling a player that could have value for you in the future. So you get the immediate benefit of that player getting playing time. The team that they're loaned to gets a very good player that is going to play for them. And then the team that owns that player doesn't have to worry, oh, what if they have a fantastic season and we just sold a player that we could use next year? All of these things, you talk about young players that come into the league that may not have a spot at their home club. Maybe they get loaned to an expansion club like Denver or Boston. It helps these two expansion clubs build their rosters without necessarily having to spend massive money in certain areas. We talked about how much money that really is for the allocation. This spreads it out a bit because now you can take players from around the league without having a big upfront cost and without having a long-term commitment to them while you're trying to figure out your club.
So a team that gets a player on a loan, they get that player, right? They get more playing time. They also have to pay then for their salary. What about, Sandra, the team that is giving that player up to go to that team? What's the bonus for them?
I think to Aaron's point, there were a little bit of layers to, his points in the answer to your question, Lisa. It's all going to boil down to kind of those fine those fine points of the budget. I think when you're looking at the biggest thing, it's always going to come down to money. The team that's going to pick up the player, that's going to be the loanee, they're going to be on the hook for any amount of salary and bonuses for said player that goes on the loan. And I think with some of what we were talking about earlier with, the transfer fees and all of the allocation money, and for the Denver and Boston teams who are going to get not only the extra money, but the extra timeline with that. If you're an existing NWSL club team and you are also trying to maybe make some transfer window moves, maybe you need to offset some costs, and maybe you do need to loan out a player, and you need another club to absorb whatever money or salary or bonuses that is, in order to make the kind of in-season move that you do want to make. So it'll all come down to dollar signs. I think ultimately that's going to be the biggest, one of the biggest. And I think all of the other obvious things are going to be the fact that if you are a team that needs some extra help across different lines, you're obviously making that phone call to a team to say, we would love to negotiate a loan for midfielder A or striker B or defender C.
I think this is a big thing. This is huge for teams who have injury issues, because what happens is if you have an injury issue, for a player goes down for 6 months and you need to sign a player in replacement, the injured player is still on your roster. So when they come back and you sign a player permanently, there's two players that you have to pay and compete for the same spot. Now, maybe you loan in a player that's not playing for their club. You put the other player that's injured on the season-ending injury list, and then you have a stopgap for this time while the player is injured. They don't have to worry about their spot being gone when they come back, and the player you bring in has a place to play and can then help sort out their future because they're getting regular playing time. Everyone sees their quality, and then for next year they will maybe have a spot somewhere else. So I think it works out for everyone. I think this is a good move for the league. I think there are a lot of positive applications for it.
Yeah, and to your point, Lisa, I think it's a really good move for players. I have to imagine that, like we talked about how the opportunities have to align. So that includes probably player consent, like with these moves, and like making sure that they are open to that, or that's something that they want. I think about this mechanism and past moves. Like it immediately made me think of like past off-season moves and how maybe they could have looked differently if an intra-league mechanism existed. Like I immediately thought of like Messiah Bright going from Orlando to Angel City, and maybe like looking back and saying like maybe that season didn't necessarily work out or pan out the way one would hope or expect, and now you've made a move to a third team in your very young career. So it's like maybe something like this could exist. I mean, and for players to say, hey, maybe you never know if the grass is greener on the other side, but you could find out for a little bit.
This is your chance to try it, right?
Leave that gate open so you can come back over after you check it out.
That's right. You could just be like, never mind, Mom, I want to come home. Pick me up.
Right. I don't like you here. I'm going to go help.
How realistic is it that we'll see this year? Because it is effective immediately right now, but you have to get approval by the league, approval by both clubs, of course, and approval by the player. It requires the consent of the loaned player. Aaron, is it realistic that we could see this year?
100%. I think with the length of the season, as many injuries as we always see through these seasons, and then you have a summer tournament in the Euros. I think that we're going to see injuries. We're going to see players go down. And I think that these teams will immediately look for a stopgap, especially if there's players that are sitting on the bench at another club that could help someone else. I think we will start to see these moves.
Would a player want to move? I'm thinking about someone at, say, Orlando Pride or Kansas City, top teams that are training every single day with the best players in the world, Temwa Shawinga, Dabinia, Bia Zenarad, Lola Banta. If you're not getting game minutes, what benefits you more, training with those players or going somewhere like a Chicago where maybe you're going to play minutes, but it might not be pretty soccer. There's a lot of change at the club. What are some of those cons that we could see?
I think for me, like anytime I talk to players about stuff like this, they'd rather be playing. Training only goes so far. You have to be playing matches to really, really improve as a player. So if there's a player that isn't getting any minutes, I don't think they care that they're training with Temwa Chiringa every day because they're not seeing the real pitch. And I think if you give a player, again, we're using that example, a player that's not getting minutes at a Kansas City, you give them an opportunity to go play for a Utah, a team that is maybe lower down the table, but they still get to regularly start and play and get real minutes. I think most players would choose that option.
Yeah, I think minutes will always outweigh the training environment.
So that's the difference between training and playing in a game. But what about the difference between making playoffs or not, or winning a championship or not, right? Because we could see that with Chicago and Orlando or KC, if we keep those two teams as my example. Orlando could very well win the championship again, and a player could miss out on that and not even make the postseason if they go to Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is like the options just open up because you get to see you have to weigh the pros and cons because if you're a player playing 0 minutes and you maybe get to get a ring at the end of it, or you maybe get to play 10, 12 games and not worry about playoffs, but you still got the experience for that season. It's the trade-off. It's what do you want for yourself? What's best for you? But now the options are there, which is the important thing. The option is there to choose.
You're still getting the ring. Like, even if you're not there for the last 6 weeks of the season, like even if you're not with that team that goes and wins, you're still getting that ring. And so like, why not get both? Like get those playing minutes. I think it just really also depends on team to team. I think maybe you look at Utah and you look at a player like Ali Sentnor, who's obviously become the undeniable face of that team right now. But this is going to be year 2 of another, moment in the franchise where it doesn't look like they're really even getting a sniff of the playoff. That midway point of the season is coming up in 2 weeks. So what do you want the second half of your season to look like? And if you're Utah, maybe that could be a mutually lucrative thing. Maybe there's a player that goes the other way. Maybe there's a player loan swap. Maybe Sentner goes to Orlando and maybe they get another player out.
Don't put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby. Don't you
I would love to see it. It would be
you do not need Ali Sentner.
If you're Orlando and you are still up at the top of the table, upper half of the table, and you're still considered an elite team, but playmaking and goal scoring has been kind of hit or miss this season, why wouldn't you try to shake things up a little bit. And I think that's going to be something that we see kind of come to fruition as well. Like, who are the teams that are actually going to find themselves wanting to tap into this mechanism immediately?
This is where smart GMs
and I'm warding off that evil, Sandra. Don't put that in the universe.
Okay, what if it's Gotham?
Okay, yes, we will accept that.
Yes.
We will accept that.
The NWSL VP of Player Affairs, Stephanie Lee, she did have a statement about this, saying that the introduction of the Intra-League Loans, quote, available to all teams, adds greater flexibility and opportunity for player development and strategic roster management league-wide, which it absolutely does. So these Intra-League Loans, they're effective immediately. You do need player consent. They can occur anytime during the season prior to the close of the secondary international transfer window, which is the beginning of August. So no, a team can't be headed into playoffs and need some players and want to get someone right before that happens. There's also no rule as of right now. I imagine this would be between team and team contract, that a player could not play against their former team. That would probably have to be on an individual contract basis, because there's no rule written for it right now per the NWSL. Guys, if you have questions about this, we've got experts on the show all the time to answer these questions, give you player insight, the perspectives of a player that could go on loan or want to be loaned and not given the opportunity. Ask us these questions in an A3 mailbag. Hit us up on socials or in our email, attackingthirder@gmail.com, because we will answer them for you. In the meantime, we've got a whole slew of questions. A3 Mailbag coming up next. Ding dong, mail's here. It's time for an A3 mailbag. You guys are always asking us questions. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love answering them. So if you have questions, hit us up on socials. You can email us at attackingthirder with THIRDER @gmail.com. Producer Marks, he compiles them and he gives us the best ones. Let's dive in. Question number 1. This one comes to us from Woso Serious 22, asking, with the news of these intra-league loans, do we see a future that will ultimately allow clubs to loan a player to any league worldwide? Sandra, I'm going to let you answer this one, because yes, right? We already see this.
Yeah, it kind of exists. I mean, to your earlier points in the segment that we just came out of, we have examples of that already in NWSL, specifically to teams in Europe. I remember Lindsay Heaps going to Lyon, and it kind of was presented as a transfer. And there was, a little bit of they tried to figure out some workarounds for Portland, tried to figure out the timing. They said, okay, like, this is going to be a certain transfer, so why don't we restructure your contract a little bit? So maybe whenever you do come back, it'll be through this time. And ultimately that ended up getting axed, and Lindsay Heaps has been on a permanent contract with Lyon ever since. So we've seen examples pan out that way. We saw their unique situation at the height of the pandemic when Alex Morgan needed to get minutes and the games weren't necessarily there in NWSL. And she had a very short-term loan with Tottenham and went back there and then came back. So that's kind of something that already exists. I think the whole concept of just the intra-league loan is a very new thing to NWSL specifically. And I think generates a certain level of buzz or certain level of excitement, because you get into those X's and O's about, you never want to make your direct, rival stronger than they need to be and all that. So that's where I think some of the excitement comes with this announcement of the intra-league loans.
We did a whole segment on these interleague loans. Go listen to it if you haven't already. And if you have more questions about us, guys, hit us up. Sandra has all of the answers, so don't worry. Question number 2, let's move on. This one comes at us from Becky J5266. Having watched some of TST over the past week, what rule or rules would you like to see borrowed from TST implemented in the NWSL? Aaron, your boots on the ground. What do you want to see in NWSL?
Oh, man, that's a really, really interesting question. I don't know if I would want to steal any TST rules for in So I like how standalone it is. My first thought was like after a certain amount of time, you take a player off. But I honestly, I like pure football. I'm one of those.
Yeah. Oh, I lost him. Do you have him?
Aaron's making such good points, and then he like went out. Well, I will say, just to piggyback on that, I don't disagree with homie because that's part of what makes TST so special. Like, just keep it. And I know we're just like the chaotic energy is like, look, chaos is attracted to chaos. So I understand, like on our ends of things, we're like, what if there's some of that TST energy that we could borrow into NWSL? But I don't know. I mean, maybe I would like to see it, in the form of maybe like an all-star game. Like I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like like just sort of like one of those like unique kind of one-off things that we could see in NWSL. It's obviously not something that we could see week to week in regular season because regular season looks and feels the way that it does. But maybe in the future when there's an all-star game, we can maybe see something similar to that. Or I would even argue like in a season like 2025 where there is this huge gap of time, there's a January break for the international tournaments that are taking place this summer with the Euros, Copa America, and others. And while other clubs are trying to, quote unquote, figure out what to do in this summer, what if maybe a handful of them got together and did some TST vibes?
I love the idea of an NWSL All-Star 7v7. We could even do like the two best 11s essentially, right? Mixed up, and then you could have 4 teams. I don't know my math. 3 teams of 7v7. I like that a lot. Guys, I'm talking the $1 million winner take all prize.
That would be sick too.
That's what we need in the NWSL. That is the one rule from TST that needs to be in the NWSL. The money.
Yes, 100%.
That's fair. I can respect. I do like the All-Star TST wrinkle. I really do like that one though. That would be that. I'm gonna go with that. I like the TST All-Star.
100%. We're so glad you're back, bud. We're sorry that
I'm glad I'm back too. I was talking. I was like, they can't hear me, can they?
You were so animated too. I was like, God, he's dropping so many bars right now, and we can't even hear him.
Question number 3 in our mailbag comes at us from 442. What team outside looking in has the best chance of making the playoffs? Now, in NWSL right now, as we head into week 12, there are only 6 points separating 5th place through 12th. So this one to me was tricky because any of these teams could change, but my number 1 team outside looking in that has the best chance is going to be Angel City. They are tied with Bay on points with 15 points, but Angel City sit in 9th place, just 1 spot outside it with Alexander Strauss coming in. I think they're going to take a little bit of a dip, a change in tactics, a change in what they do. And Angel City will be right back to their winning ways and make the postseason.
I'm curious if Gotham makes that leap. I think it's tough because when you look at things like injuries, you're like, surely this is going to be the one that breaks them. And then they show that that's not the case. And I think there's like this kind of weird mirror image right now between like them and the Spirit. It's a little bit of like a Spider-Man meme where it's like you've got an availability report with so many names across it, and you've got the Spirit doing what they're doing, and you've got Gotham trying their best during the first half of the season. But I think as that second half of the season approaches, you have to wonder who's going to be built to kind of make those kind of second half season runs. And you never want to like put all of your hopes and dreams on one player, but it's hard to deny how special Rose Lavelle is, and the fact that she can come in for 15 minutes and just immediately make an impact for your team like that. Also, Gotham is gonna still keep signing players. I'm just saying, like there's gonna be something that comes in here. So I think Angel City is a good shout. I've still got 2 weeks here to the halfway point of the season, so I'm not counting Gotham out just yet.
I like Sandra's answer. You know me, I'm gonna go with the Homer answer, but just even like trying to be unbiased and looking at it overall, I do think it is Gotham. I think you getting Rose Lavelle back you're getting a world-class player back, one of the best players in the world. Her 15-minute cameo, like Sandra said, she changed the game when she came in. Getting more minutes out of her, getting Jess to full fitness. Hopefully Mitch Purse to full fitness. Obviously losing Tanner Davidson was a big miss for this team. Yeah, that's a big miss. But they've also had other injuries in the back line. Jess Carter's been out for a couple matches.
Yeah.
I think Rose specifically coming back into this team is so massive because she solves a lot of the issues that they have, ball progression, creating clear-cut chances just on her own. So I think that is my shout. And again, you do have to mention there will be a summer transfer window. So there's still that.
And these intra-league transfers now too. We get trades, transfer, loans. Sorry, intra-league loans. My brain is fried. All right, question number 4.
Get yourself some coffee.
Bicycle Nick 1988 asks, how are we feeling about Boston Legacy's new crest? Did they save themselves from the disastrous first look rollout? So Boston Legacy announced on Saturday it was going to be an 8-feathered swan, a green and black shield around the swan. And the 8 feathers of the swan represent the 8 original NWSL teams, including Boston Breakers. And then the angles of them reflect the lines of the iconic Zakim Bridge. Sandra, did they redeem themselves?
I'm here. I'm moving on. Look, you don't have to ask me about it. I've been moved on. The minute they said, they were like, you know what?
We try again.
Balls are out. Let's move forward. I was like tapped into that. I was like, excellent. You love to see it. That's the response you want to see. You want to have a club that's going to say, my bad. We're gonna fix this and moving forward. And I like it.
I like the swan. I like an animal. I like a swan.
Yeah, we're team animals. We want more animals in NWSL logo. So I love that they went with a swan.
I like
good
an
stuff.
Animal.
It's classic. It's infinitely better than what they started out with. They listened. They changed it. It seems to have some meaning, and it's. I think some people hate this, but it's clean. I do like the term clean for a crest, but I think they did a fantastic.
It's a little basic, I'll say.
It is a little basic, but it's better than what they had. So
it's great. I think they went so far. They were like, we went too far. Now we just gotta keep it easy. All right, quick for our final last 2 questions. This one comes at us from Gunners Glory 07. If you had to right now, would you put your money on KC winning the Shield, or would you bet the field? I'm betting on KC current.
It's NWSL. You got to bet the field for me. Like this league is too chaotic for you to ever just put money on one straight up team, I think.
If this question was posed for championship, yes, but it's for the Shield, so I'd be hesitant to do it on just one team.
KC, I'm with
you. But I'm bought in for KC in many ways.
I'm with KC on the Shield. Okay, last question. Number 6 comes at us from Overlap Express. If you could bring back any retired player from the past and put them on a current NWSL team, Sandra, who would you pick and what club?
I'm going to dig deep in the NWSL veteran pockets, and I would kindly ask Sarah Woldmo how she and her family are doing, how the baby's doing, and if she'd want to come back to the Chicago Stars, because they would absolutely need some line-breaking midfielder that could help them out. So, yeah, I'm dipping deep in the pockets. I'm sure people are like, Sarah, who?
No,
but that's okay.
Her.
Yeah.
Guys, with how she played at TST, I don't care that you're currently breastfeeding. Carly Lloyd, please come back into the NWSL.
Where are you putting her?
Team would be happy to have you.
Any team. How about you?
I'm bringing my wife out of retirement and plopping her straight on the team that she runs now, Gotham. Her in that midfield, I think she's made to play for Juan Carlos Amados. Like she just came he came like a few years too late. I think her in this team would be incredible. In the base of midfield. Loan. Oh man.
Summertime loan to Chicago. Come through,
right?
Summer loan. That's so good. Paul, you're saying Mia Hamm, NWSL player. We had to go NWSL player. All right, guys. This was so fun. Thanks for hitting us up. If you have questions, hit us up. Excuse me. We'll answer them for you. And thanks for hanging with us on this beautiful Tuesday. Be kind to everyone and leave us a 5-star rating and review. If you're watching on the Lazo Network, on YouTube, listening as a pod, thank you so much for being here with us. We appreciate it. For Aaron, Sandra, and Mark, and Lisa, this was Attacking Third.